Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desa Tarane Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrindaki Jai. So, by the mercy of Bhanu Swami Maharaj, we have this book by Kavi Karnapur, the son of Shivananda Singh. Chapter 14, Snana Yatra. One time the Lord spoke to the devotees headed by Advaita Acharya who had come to see his lotus feet. O Acharya, most intelligent, learned one, hear what I speak about the activities of Jagannath. Jagannath is always the shelter of all rasas. He goes to Gundicha for special pastimes. There is an attractive flower garden on either side of the path going to Gundicha. Know that particularly gives remembrance of Vrindavan. Going to the Gundicha hall, Jagannath stays and performs pastimes there for 9 days. Every year you should all come to see this great festival, rare even for the Devatas to see Mahaprabhu, the ocean of mercy, in this way, on the pretext of Rath Yatra, allowed the devotees to see his own pastimes. Thus, from that time onwards, they would eagerly come to see Gaurachandra at the time of the Rath Yatra every year. How can hundreds of Brihaspatis describe these devotees who came to see Gauranga every year? I will describe how they went there one time with constant eagerness to give a general idea. Advaita Acharya and Srivas, with many people, were eager to go one year. In Vaishakha month, with the Malaya wind blowing, with the chirping cuckoos and humming of bees, they decided to go. Srivas, full of joy, his heart soft with affection for Gaurachandra, spoke to Vasudev Dutt and Shivananda Sen, giving their hearts joy. Find out the day of the Rath Yatra and decide what day is most suitable for us to depart for Puri. Having fixed the day of going, they all, with great longing and desire, went to Navadvip. The great devotees saw Sachi, the form of Vishnu Bhakti, mother of the whole universe. Staying there a few days with bliss and affection, they went to see Advaita Acharya, who was filled with longing. He said in a sweet voice, "The day of departure that is suitable for you is suitable for me also." They danced and sang happily, blissful with affection for Gauranga's lotus feet. Advaita, the greatest mountain range of ras for bhakti pastimes, also departed in great happiness. Haridas, absorbed in a great ocean of bhakti pastimes, was like a great mountain which had sunk in an ocean. Extracting kirtan, glorifying the Lord's qualities from the great ocean continually, he agreed with great desire to go to Puri. Haridas and other great devotees, putting Advaita and Srivas in front, happily proceeded to Puri. Vasudev Dutt and Shivananda Sen, with great affection, happily went with them. The younger brother of Srivas, Sri Ram, who controlled Gauranga by his singing at all times, also went. Mukunda, pure, affection, most dear to the Lord, sweet, peaceful, mild-speaking, and very soft, joyfully went with Murari Gupta, an ocean of prema bhakti. These devotees, trembling with prema for Gauranga's lotus feet, joyfully went while chanting the Lord's name and qualities. Singing kirtan from morning, they took rest in the evening or night, performing necessary activities on the road. Passing their days in singing and dancing, the devotees traveled on the road with greatly anxious hearts. One cannot properly describe their days. The ocean of happiness spread in all directions. With minds aroused by huge waves in an ocean of joy, greedy for Gauranga's lotus feet, they happily came to Ramuna. The sun, lamenting and not seeing the devotees, placed his rays on Sunset Mountain. The devotees with hair standing on end entered an attractive town to see Gopinath. Seeing the moon-like face of the deity, they experienced a great satisfaction. Offering respects, the great devotees exited with difficulty. In the morning, they departed with eager hearts, longing to see the lotus feet of Gaurachandra. With their blissful bodies, the great crowd shone like a second ocean. Advaita was the water. Srivas was a mountain of bhakti. Kirtan was the nectar arising from the ocean. Haridas was the Kaustuba jewel. Their mutual affection became excellent Lakshmi. The great fame was the foam and effulgence was the Badaya fire. Shouts of Jaya were the waves and flooding riptides. Their toes were the fish and their toenails were the pearls. Their arms were the serpents, their chests were the islands, and their faces were the astonishing lotuses. The great-minded Sarvabhauma, with great eagerness, came to Jayapur village to meet them. While he shed tears out of affection for them, his body became covered with goosebumps. After seeing the great devotee Advaita, the great poet began reciting verses of praise that he had composed. I offer respects to Advaita, the great devotee, the great Lord, by whose mercy attachment to Gauranga's lotus feet arises. Saying this, his hair standing on end and stunned, the ocean of good fortune fell on the ground, offering respects. Seeing Haridas, filled with great devotion, in great joy he fell on the ground with hair standing on end. He offered respects many times with lowered shoulders, saying, I offer respects to Haridas, whose family and birth are not considered. The best of Brahmins, recovering with hair standing on end, then spoke in a choked voice. Following the order of Gaurachandra's lotus feet, I will bring to life the nectar of bhakti to those persons who have dried up by thought's impersonal Brahman, by delivering knowledge and giving another meaning to the Vedanta. After hearing my proposal, the Lord said playfully, do not make useless efforts. The ocean of mercy, seeing me anxious to go, said, you will not at all have that power. Do not go. Do not have wasted effort, O Brahman. What can you do? You who do not have good fortune. I am eagerly going to Kashi without shame. Be merciful so my desire will be fulfilled. Sarvabhauma, Brihaspati on earth, saying this, offered respects, and his body filled with happiness left. The devotees came to attractive Yajapur, and after bathing in the Vaitarani river, entered the town. Prataparudra, after having a dream, sent a palanquin and put Advaita on it and brought him. Advaita was worried, knowing that I am conversing with the king. What will Gaurachandra say to me? Though Advaita was the Lord, he trembled in fear of Gaurachandra. He brought Vasudev Dutt with him. Some followers of Advaita, surrendered to Gauranga's lotus feet, went with him on the road to Katak. Haridas and other great devotees, letting Srivas go ahead, went to Hameshwar. Spending the day there, they saw the deity of Shiva, and the next morning rose thoroughly refreshed and continued walking in joy. At some distance, Srivas and others who had gone ahead were waiting. Their joy doubled as the other devotees approached. The great-minded Advaita met with them while thinking, we will see the effulgence of Gauranga's toenails. Together they went to Kamalakapur in great joy, spreading kirtan everywhere. Coming to the river, they bathed and gazed at the temple. For a long time, with its towering pinnacle, it seemed the sun had fallen from the sky. With joy, they saw the temple of Jagannath shining like a million suns, endowed with nectar. The great devotees gazed at the temple, which gives bliss to all beings. Seeing the temple, their hair stood on end in joy, as great as the size of the temple. Seeing the temple, they felt an ocean of happiness. They trembled and offered respects while performing kirtan. Receiving a pure garland sent by Gaur Chandra, Advaita was overjoyed. Overcome with happiness, Advaita danced along with the devotees who, joyful with prema, were doing constant kirtan. Dancing and chanting, greedy for Gauranga, they arrived at the bank of the Narendra lake and proceeded happily. Advaita again received a pure garland from Govinda. He heard Govinda's words with eagerness. Mahaprabhu is now at the ocean. He says that you should fast with your eye. You should fast with your eyes and should not come to the ocean to see him. You should see Jagannath. He will come definitely after some delay. You can talk together at Kashi Mishra's house. Hearing this, Advaita thought, this is his Maya. He inferred this since the Lord was under his control. Murari Gupta, his mind afflicted with depression, fell on the ground like a stick and crying spoke. I am miserable, full of sorrow, the most fallen person. You great devotees have brought me this far. I do not have the strength to go further. I do not have the rashness to see Jagannath. If you inform Mahaprabhu of this, I will gain the strength to go later. Saying this in great depression and sorrow, Murari Gupta remained fixed in his determination. After that, the devotees headed by Advaita saw Jagannath endowed with lotus eyes. Seeing Jagannath with his mighty chest, his huge arms and his blossoming eyes, they were overjoyed. Then Gaurachandra, shining like a million moons, overflowing with happiness, tears flowing from his eyes, arrived. He made the earth tremble with his footsteps. He had the gait of an intoxicated elephant. He had the enthusiasm of a mad lion, his gleaming arms extended to his knees. He was a moving mountain of gold, a mine of nectar, gushing with a waterfall of tears. He was like a million moons rising simultaneously, emitting constantly long streams of nectar. He shone like a red coping and outer cloth. He shone with a red coping and outer cloth. His effulgent thighs conquered 2 banana trunks, with rays of sweet light emanating from his beautiful toenails. The ocean of rasa illuminated the fortunate earth. All directions were bathed in the intense light of his moon-like face. His conch-like neck with the personification of an ocean of happiness. He had the neck of a lion and a broad, beguiling chest. He had a thin waist tied with a waistcloth. Reciting Brahma's prayer, starting with No Midya, Te, Bra, Vipashe, Mahaprabhu offered respects to Advaita. Overjoyed, Advaita, his hair standing on end, offered him respects. They praised each other and offered respects continuously. Continuously, they shed tears which formed pearl garlands. They spent a long, happy time offering respects and praises. Then Mahaprabhu, seeing the lotus feet of Srivas, became overjoyed and praised him profusely. Srivas, becoming confused, seemed like he desired to die. The fortunate devotee offered respects and praises profusely. His younger brothers Shriram and Vasudev Dutt offered respects to the Lord together. Mahaprabhu embraced them with his pillar-like arms. Shivananda Sain then offered respects and bliss. He brought 2 jars of Ganga water to Mahaprabhu. Seeing the water, Mahaprabhu, the ocean of mercy, sang its praises. His teeth gleaming between his lips, he spoke sweetly. Give 1 jar to me for the bathing ceremony of Jagannath. Separate these 2 jars of Vasudeva and Shivananda. He understood the desire of Vasudev Dutt and Shivananda Sain. He said, divide the water and give half to Jagannath and leave the other half here. The ocean of mercy then inquired with astonishment, where is Murari? Where is Murari? Bring him quickly. Hearing this, many devotees ran in zeal and came quickly to the bank of Narendra Sarovara. They saw Murari lying on the ground, trembling and crying with a miserable heart. They said, "Quickly come." Hearing these words, Murari, in great joy, trembling with eyes full of tears, covered with dust, crying with pitiful words, completely despondent, went to see the Lord. Perspiring and stunned, he stumbled about continually. He covered his throat with the border of his cloth. Holding grass in his teeth, he moved like a lowly grass. He wore a pearl garland of tears on his chest. As if blinded by prema, he gazed at the Lord for a long time. He could not speak because tears choked his throat for some time. Then with choked, painful, pitiful voice, feeling most miserable, he uttered words and held the lotus feet of the Lord. He repeatedly sprinkled the tears flowing from his two eyes upon the Lord's lotus feet. The Lord, with two blossoming lotus eyes, also sprinkled Murari's back with his tears. The people present there cried along with his crying. The time became similar to him, absorbed completely in his emotions. The Lord, seeing and hearing his pitiful words and intense crying, could not endure it for a moment and felt great sorrow. Then the Lord, with Adwaita and others, became charming and affectionate, like the moon decorated with stars. The moon of Gauranga, smiling, tinged with beautiful red lips, bathed the faces of the directions in the effulgence of his limbs. Greedy for the nectar of Chaitanya's feet, the devotees became anxious to see the bathing festival of Jagannath. On Ekadasi, the devotees happily saw the marriage festival, and on the full moon day, they saw the purifying bathing festival. The city of Puri was most attractive and pleasing, with mansions, watchtowers, and gates. It had beautiful palaces which touched the white clouds. In that city, the bathing platform, permeated with nectar, seemed like a moving person. In the previous day, when the sun set, some people had started to decorate the platform. When the moon rose, it shone, making the great city beautiful. The moon, full of nectar, as if serving the Lord, cleansed the platform with its hand-like rays. The bathing platform was decorated with abundant flower garlands, with an attractive archway, with a huge network of flowers, and with small, shining, jingling bells. Its beauty became attractive to the whole world. On the order of Gauranga, the devotees, anxious to see the bathing of Jagannath, fixed themselves on top of a wall, their chests shining with sandalwood applied by the hand of Gauranga. They shone like devatas in the sky in front of Mahaprabhu. When the dawn came, the servants of Jagannath fastened the pure ropes on Jagannath's body. First, Balaram desired to go. He came off his throne, shining like a million moons. Then Subhadra and then Jagannath came off their thrones, producing astonishing beauty. Gaurachandra came in front and saw the victory path of the three deities, one by one. Shaking the earth with his footsteps, moving from pillow to pillow, Jagannath appeared like a moon, moving from constellation to constellation. The Lord, the crown jewel of Niladri, ascended the spotless platform, which was decorated with networks of flowers, which shone brightly with a series of steps, which surpassed the beauty of the milk ocean with trembling waves, while people shouted Jaya and rang bells. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, surrounded by devotees, was in the front. Streams of tears fell from his lotus eyes onto his chest. Shining Jagannath was also bathed in tears, overcome with joy on seeing that they had similar beauty. The great festival of Jagannath, rare for the devatas like Brahma to see, clearly meant for giving sweet bliss to the eyes of all people, was beautiful, with simultaneous loud shouts of Jai Jai, ever increasing in joy, and with showers of flowers similar to verses of praise. Covering with the bathing water, Jagannath seemed to be crying in separation from Gauranga, thinking, "He will be hidden from my vision for a long time." His chest and thighs were pleased with the sweet liquids of the bathing festival. Jagannath remained there for some time in bliss. Again, his two arms were held by groups of servants. Endowed with beauty, he began to move gloriously on pillows. At the departure of Jagannath, Kurma seemed to sink. Shesha seemed to tremble with all his hoods. The earth seemed to quake. Mountains seemed to explode. And the universe seemed to break apart. And the ocean seemed to flood its shores. And the sun seemed to flee away. That's the end of chapter 14. Shrimad Caitanya Mahakavyam Ki Jai.